Welcome to episode 3 of Disrupting the Algorithm podcast season dos. My name is Julio Salgado. I am the co-creator of the Disruptors Fellowship, a program of the Center for Cultural Power. And we have an amazing guest today. And before I introduce our guest, quick updates. Our application is officially closed. If you were one of the over 200 applications that we received, you will know by mid-July if you made it into our mentorship program. As of today, well, today is what is today? June 11. Yesterday, June 10th, we had our first workshop with the amazing Zachary Alexander Stevens. We had an outlining workshop, and we had like over 100 people join from all around the country. And I believe we also had people who signed up from like India, Australia, and London. So I haven't checked who officially joined the chat, but if you made it at 5 p.m. Pacific time in your time, kudos to you for joining us. And so, thank you so much. So on to our amazing guest. Listen, it is June 2026. We are celebrating Pride Month. I'm wearing my Metro Pride, shirt. We're celebrating Juneteenth. We're celebrating Immigrant Heritage Month. We're celebrating dads. To join us in celebrating all things, I am so excited to be joined by the amazing disruptor, mentor, and TV writer, Courtney Perdue. Courtney, welcome.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here. Not a dad yet, but I do celebrate them.
We celebrate dad, we celebrate saddies, we celebrate dad, everyone. It's just like tangent. But yeah, so it's a month of celebration, right? In a moment in time where it's hard to find joy in things, we're gonna try,
We
right?
will. There's joy right here on this conversation.
Oh, I'm so happy. Listen, seeing your face and every time that I get to interact with anybody that has touched disruptors in one way or another, I'm just so happy because I know that you're coming in with just the best intentions, to give back to the community. So thank you,
It
Courtney.
is such a welcoming space, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, before we get started with all the questions that I have for you, I promise, Courtney, that I won't go Barbara Walters and go all deep.
It's
But
okay if you do. I'm ready.
listen. I want to give you your flowers, Courtney. I want to give you a proper introduction of the amazing things that you've done and who your background. So Courtney Perdue is a multi-genre writer, producer, voice actor, connoisseur of pop. I need to ask about that voice actor thing. And connoisseur of pop and nerd culture. Born in Michigan, but raised in Montgomery County, Maryland, he found himself growing up different than most, surrounded by Filipino and Korean Americans while being neither. With weekends spanning anything from a big Filipino party with gossiping titas and magic bag performances to Korean Bible study that ended with Super Smash Brothers and eating KFC and kimchi. Oh my God, sounds delicious.
Was.
After after graduating Syracuse University, he got his start working in development at Steven Spielberg's Amblin TV, helping shepherd strong character-driven stories to the screen before moving into the writers' rooms as a writer's assistant on The Hunting of Hill House under Mike Flanagan and Meredith Averill at Netflix. He, along with his partner Baindu Saidu, were most recently supervising producers on Goosebumps on Disney Plus. Prior to that, they worked on Up Here on Hulu, Just Beyond on Disney Plus, Gossip Girl 2.0 on Max, Trinkets on Netflix, and Bigger on BT Plus. Courtney was also a Disruptors mentor in 2023 and 2024, and today he's back to share all the knowledge with you all. Thank you so much for being here, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
Of
And that was
course.
so nice to hear all that out loud.
Listen, I think, I don't know. I don't know if it's your experience, but as an immigrant, you're taught that, you have to be humble and, I get it, but listen, this is not the
You gotta
time
teach
to
their
be.
horn sometimes. You gotta let people know.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we're just so that you'll know who's in this room. Now, Courtney, I want to kick off, I mentioned it is Pride Month.
Yeah.
So I want to kick off our conversation by asking you, what is an example of queer creative disruptions you have witnessed on TV, film, or any other kind of media that is keeping you inspired during this oh so changing times?
This is gonna sound so basic because I know everyone has said this recently, but heated rivalry. Like that was a milestone moment for me. I don't know. Just watching that show and seeing such a pure, unabashed series that was just celebrating the hardship and the love between these two characters, and it felt like we hadn't had that in a while. So it was just so nice to see that, but also realize even if the US wouldn't initially make it since it had to come from Canada, but it blew up here and now everyone over here is like, wait a minute, we should be doing the same thing. And I'm like, it only takes one, sometimes two or three, with like spans of time in between. But when it happens, it happens. So I'm so excited to see like what comes from that. But just seeing the the joy that people experience from watching it and the press that it got, and even the stars of the show and how supportive they have been and watching them rise from it was just like, yeah, it's nice to see that. That's keeping me going. And I would also say anything with Andrew Scott, just because I love him.
I was just watching the round table. I haven't seen the movie that he was in with oh my God. I'm like forgetting names, but like he was just talking about like the his process, and it was like
Mhm.
all this it wasn't from Vanity Fair, it was through the LA Times.
Yeah,
But yeah, Andrew Scott is amazing, and
amazing. He can do anything.
he truly can. He truly can. That talent. I mean, I think for me too. Like, again, I don't. Saying Will and Grace may sound also basic, but
No.
you know, because again, if you look at from a perspective of 2026, right? Like
Mhm.
Will and Grace was a very wide gay experience,
Yeah.
but that show came out when I was in high school.
Mhm.
Like this came out when I was in in the trying to figure myself out. So
Yeah.
seeing Joy, as you're mentioning, yeah, there were the jokes and all there were serious moments, but a lot of it was jokes, and I felt I couldn't be more different that Will and Grace and Jack, and all the good characters. But seeing that, like, I don't know, it made me feel like,
It
oh,
normalized it.
it
No.
normalized it. It normalized it. And I have an issue with saying normalized because that then says that we're
It's
not
not
normal. But
normal, but yeah.
we are, as queer
Yeah.
people, we are different,
Yeah.
like I'm embracing the
The
differences.
differences. All
Yeah.
people are different. We need to get that through everybody's head. There's no normal.
What is normal?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's that I love it, and I haven't I saw the first three episodes of Heated Rivalry, but I need to get back on
Oh,
that.
you haven't seen the most emotional
I haven't seen the
episode.
fourth one.
You need to get in there. And the
Yeah.
finale. Huh.
What did you think? What did you think about? And I mean, and this is one of the questions that I was going to ask you is when you know, a lot of things are on TV and we are so on social media,
Yeah.
the bad parts of it, and people were like having this like discussions, either you love it or you hate it. What you think
Mhm.
about that?
I mean, it kind of goes to how I feel about a lot of TV. I
Mm.
think we've been inundated with so many new shows, and there has been a wide range of things that aren't that good and things that are amazing. But sometimes shows need time to breathe and grow to get to like the good things. And that's not to say that the first couple episodes aren't good, but they might be a little more setup based, or it might just be something that is a big splash so that it hooks you, but then you might have a lull for the next two. And I think in terms of the attention spans of people where we've gotten because of social media and this sort of like instant gratification culture. People don't want to stick around long enough to get to the payoff. I'm like, life is about payoff. We don't just go from 0 to 100 in our careers and our relationships, and how we develop as people.
Yeah.
Neither do shows, and we need to sit there and give them the time, and then you get the nice payoff at the end, which you got in episode 6.
Okay, going back, it's Paramount. I need to go back. But that
Yeah,
is also making me think because another one of the shows that I was gonna mention, that was for me like a very queer experience was, My So-Called Life. You had Ricky, but that show came out before I migrated to the US, so I didn't grow up watching it. I saw reruns,
yeah.
but that was an experience of like it only lasted 1 year, but it took years or like it took some time because they only had one season and it took some time for people to like catch on and
And like
really
discover it, and it still became like a big part of a lot of people's childhood. I
yeah.
feel like Degrassi was kind of the same way because that was that was one of the ones that I was watching. Maybe earlier than I should have, who knows? But you like the show grew with the audience and then kind of did a step back so it could start to rebuild with a new audience.
Yeah.
But that was one that definitely kind of had that same impact because you saw characters of all sexualities and colors and religions and creeds. It was just all encompassing.
Yeah.
But that was another show that I feel like there was the original generation for it before our time. Then there was like an in-between step, and then the one for us, and then the one for people after us. And hopefully one day it'll come back again for people that aren't even born yet. Who knows? But Degrassi was an institution.
It truly was. Now, are you talking Degrassi, the like the ones that came in the
Next
early 2000s, the
generation.
next generation?
Yeah,
It was like an 80s Degrassi, right? Like that was the
exactly. And that had the students in that were then parents and teachers in Next Generation.
Yeah, yeah. But what I think about also, it's like we are living in a world of, so that was like the night, 2090s, 2000s, and it took time.
Yeah.
And now in the era of like, I need to like things immediately, like that's
Hmm.
just normal.
Yep.
So like shows are even having a hard, like you have to have be a big splash, like
Yeah.
heated rivalry to even, get an opportunity. But anyway, so Courtney, we can talk about
We're back. Yeah.
oh, we're back, we're back. You've been an amazing mentor to Disruptors alumni. Can you tell us a little bit about your own experiences with mentors that championed your work and led to the opportunities you've had in this industry?
That is such an interesting question because I will say, and I feel like everyone has different experiences
Mhm.
with this. I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel like I have had like a true like strong mentor in this business, but I do think that I have had execs, friends, other writers who have been supportive of my work and my writing partner's work, and that have helped us get to opportunities, be it a recommendation that we needed to try to get a job, or they heard about something and passed it along to us so that we could kind of do our due diligence and see if it was something that we could be involved in. Um, and then just having your friends around you to help read and give notes on things and build up your work. So for me, it's been less about having a mentor that I could kind of go to and be my sounding board and hopefully carry me along, and just kind of the community that I have built within this industry and being out here in California that kind of just helped push me forward and keep me motivated. So that's kind of where it's been for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like there's no, we've talked about it here before, but there's no formula for mentorship, right? Like
Yeah.
it either works or it
It
doesn't.
doesn't.
It really, I always tell fellows, right? The relationship with your mentor, it's really up to you. And,
Mhm.
like you as a mentor, it's not your responsibility to be like, hey, it's but
Yeah.
me as the mentee, as I personally have had, mentors, here in, one of my first writing mentors, was Aurora Guerrero, who,
Mhm.
helped us. We were developing, a series that, didn't go anywhere, but that relationship, stayed, and so it's really up to you to be
Yeah.
like, hey, I have a question, hey, I have this. I always also tell people, I'm like, if you're interested in a mentor, somebody to mentor you, like, don't stalk people and don't fill their inboxes. Like,
Try to make it as organic as you can be. Because I do say that to that idea, if there is someone that you want to work with, reach out. The worst they can do is say no. If you never ask, you're definitely never going to get their mentorship or even friendship or anything from them. And I do think there are a lot of people out here who are more willing to be mentors or at least answer questions for you, even if they can't be your sort of like full-time go-to person. But a lot of times people just don't ask, so they would never know.
yeah, and I don't know, you're afraid to ask the wrong question, or like,
Yeah.
how will you know? And so, do you think that that's, because you said you didn't have like a quote unquote like traditional mentor,
Mhm.
is that why you joined us to, like, to be a mentor? Like, what made you say yes?
Yeah. Well, it was in general like the mission. I really
Mhm.
loved what you had to say when we first talked about joining and being a mentor for the program, but I also felt like there were certain roadblocks that were in my way or just information I didn't know when I first got out here and started working in this business. And I'm like, if I can at least pass that on to someone, I might not be able to get you a job, but I can read, I can let you know the ways to maybe navigate trying to find a rep. Or once you've gotten your own jobs, I can be like, hey, when you go on your first day, don't do this or do this. But I feel like for people that did go to school for this business in some way, a lot of the times what was taught and in the classes, it was more like principles and textbook things, but they're not the same things that you actually need to know once you get in because it is still very different. So it was nice to be able to pass some of that along and hopefully it's helped. It sounds like it has, but yeah, I just want to keep doing that as much as I can.
Yeah, no, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I mean, on that note, I mean, this year, what we're doing, we're doing something a little bit different. Where we're creating, this mock TV writers' rooms to give the fellows that experience.
Mhm.
So what would you say was your biggest lesson in your first writers' room that you learned?
Wow, I think this one is something that gets talked about a
Mhm.
lot, but usually what I would hear is they're like, as a staff writer, don't pitch or don't pitch too much. And it really is dependent on who is running the room and what they are expecting of you. Because there are some showrunners who are like, maybe the staff writer should maybe only say like two to three things in a given day. There's others that are like, I do not care who's giving the best ideas. I need to hear from everybody to figure out what could work because best idea could come from anyone. So in that case, you do want to speak up more. And I feel like when I was first walking into a room, there was a little bit of that cognitive dissonance in my mind of like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Did I say too much? Do I need to step back? And I will say that the first room I was in was for Big Girl on BET Plus, and that was such a warm, welcoming room of like comedy veterans. It was like a hardcore, raunchy cable comedy thing. So they were very much like say things, make jokes, throw things out there because it was just such a warm room for that. So after that initial like day or two of just kind of getting the lay of the land, it kind of opened me up to kind of just roll with the punches. But I would say like it is okay to pitch things, but try to read the room and see what the showrunner is about because it will always be dependent on that.
Yeah. For folks that apply and, hopefully get into the program, what advice would you give them, in this like sort of, you're trying out to be in a writer's room, like what advice would you give them?
It is the flip side to pitching and that is as much as you're going to pitch, you also need to listen. Because I feel like there are a lot of times where people are caught up in trying to formulate their own new idea to throw out into the room, and then they're not listening to what's going on around them. And that idea could have been pitched before, maybe it was pitched a little differently. So what you're saying might still be helpful, it may not be at all, or they will have completely missed the boat of what the room is trying to get to or where they're going because they were so focused on how do I get my pitch ready to throw out into the room. So you do need to be actively listening as much as trying to come up with ideas to throw out to the room.
Yeah. Do a podcast. Like because this is an exercise in listening,
Yeah.
like because I've seen podcasts where, the interviewer is just like reading the questions. And I'm
Hmm.
like, you're not listening, like that's a follow-up, follow that up. But I think it's an exercise in everyday, life, like listen,
Yeah.
because you could be in a meeting and like literally somebody said the same thing earlier.
And then everyone else is in the room like, were you not paying attention? I'm confused. Were you on your phone? What was that? Or people will just start talking over each other and it was like, wait, hold on, slow down.
Yeah. And I mean, we are in a different era where a lot of meetings take up, are in Zoom. And I I I know people have different ways of approaching a Zoom meeting, but I need to be on, I need camera because I will.
You'll
If
tune out.
I will tune
Yeah.
out. I will tune out. So like I think it's important like this is making as you're saying that, Courtney, like this making me think about my own like what am I doing? Because my husband says that sometimes I don't.
And then I'm sitting there like, wait, is it because, oh, let me move my phone over here. I'm not paying attention to the TV. I've turned it off. What are you saying?
It's just listening people like really and it's hard. We have way too many distractions
It
and
is an active skill because to what you were saying about too many distractions, I also feel like we've gotten to a point where there's so much coming at us all the time. We've also gotten very good at tuning things out. So next thing you know, you're standing right in front of someone and they're talking to you, and it's like, wait, what? I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that? Like, what? You weren't even doing anything. But yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
happens.
it's I the phone is a new cigarette. It's like
Mhm.
it's so normalized, but we are as a civilization, we are seeing the results and the ramifications of this technology that is so magical. But it
But
does.
human interaction, that's where it's at, guys.
Listen, we went this weekend. We went. We took with some of the alumni, Disruptors alumni. We went to this show at Cine Vita, and it's called Teen Beat. Anyways, they do like this like musical, and it's like they sing movies from 80 songs from 80s movies,
Yeah.
and the host kept saying, "We're here. We're in person. There's no AI involved here. Like you have to see us. So there's that exercise, and I know the pandemic messed us up, and
Yes,
we
it
all need
did.
to learn to
Hmm.
show social skills. But how did you? I'm curious. Like, how did you go from the pandemic, pre-pandemic writers' rooms to post-pandemic going back in person? Like, what was, I mean, aside from the obvious, like, what was like a big thing that you're having to relearn?
Um, it's I wouldn't say it was something that I had to relearn because I will say that for the most part, actually being in a room was still the same, even though it was on Zoom versus in person. The thing that was harder on Zoom is trying not to talk over people because sometimes it was hard to tell when someone was done talking, be it lag in your internet or lag from the person that was actually speaking. Um, and not being able to all see the same board at the same time in the beginning until we started moving to some of the digital boards, going into our like second and third Zoom rooms. Um, but being in person, I will say the energy was just different because you were actively in the room with other people, and sometimes it just helped spark ideas with like other little things people were doing. Like people were drawing in the rooms while they were trying to like get their brains working and come up with stuff, give you things to talk about, comment on, which would inspire and spark other stories. So I wouldn't say it was so much like having to reacclimate to it. It was just sort of returning to form in a way. And it just felt like we had a little bit of a shift in synergy, but that came back quickly once we were in the rooms again in person.
Mm, yeah, beautiful. Well, thank God for Zoom that updated their, it they had to do what they had to do. Now I was mentioning earlier, right? Like as you were talking about heated rivalry and like the focus on sort of people focusing on the bad thing,
Yeah.
on the bad things of the field. of whatever they're watching. But this also goes for the anxiety that people are feeling about the industry, right? Like,
Mhm.
the lack of jobs, or
Mhm.
the eye of it all, right? But are there actual signs of hope in the industry that we're probably missing because we're too caught up in the negative? Like, are we spending too much on on what's wrong with the industry?
Um, I think there are signs of hope, but I look at hope in two different ways.
Mm.
There is hope in the sense that I do think there's places that are starting to buy more things. There was a weird lull, and now people are getting to the point where they're like, we still need to make content. We still need to have shows for people, or else we're going to start losing subscribers and viewers and so forth. So I do think there has been some pickup there. Room sizes are still smaller than I think they should be. That is a whole other battle that still needs to be fought. But there is hope, and there's people that are buying projects, so there's still things happening. I do think the other side to that is there's hope in the sense that there's more coming, but then there's hope in the sense of hope you have to make for yourself. I don't know if that actually makes sense in how I'm saying that, but it's to the idea of I think there's a lot of people that either have reps or currently have jobs that might be ending and they're just waiting to see what comes next or waiting for the next thing to come their way. And you have to sort of make your own hope. You have to put yourself in the position to have your material ready so that you have reps that can send it out. But also don't just rely on them. You need to go out and start making some of those connections yourself with the either execs you've worked with in the past, some execs that you really wanted to work with that you might have to find a way to get to on your own so that they're aware of you. And even through some of those meetings, what's been interesting as my writing partner and I have gone on some of these generals or just reconnected with people we worked with in the past is there are companies that are like known for a specific type of TV. Like that's a production company you go to if you want to make a comedy. That's who you go to if you want like a soapy, sexy drama. They're sometimes trying to do more than that. And your reps may not know that, or they've been focusing on something else that they would like you to work on because they think it might be an easier sell to take out across the board. But like Shondaland, for example, they want to find their comedy. But no one, when I talk to them, is like Shondaland comedy, they're thinking the Grey's Anatomies, the Bridgertons, Scandals, but they want to try different things too. Just like any writer-led production company or producers in general, they like to change it up. So I think that in terms of like hope for new, we need to be able to go out there and trump up some of those opportunities ourselves and figure out how we can make our own hope outside of just the new shows that are getting picked up and ordered.
Yeah, I know this idea of like, well, that's working, let's recreate that.
It does work to a degree, but at some point something new has to happen. As we've even seen at the box office with like Obsession and Backrooms. They were original stories. That is what the takeaway should be, not any of this other stuff. There's pluses and minuses on both ends of both movies, but the big takeaway is that they were original stories that did well. So we need to be investing in that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I've always said I'm like keep if you're gonna be any kind of creative, any kind of artist, any kind of that you're already taking a risk, right? You're already taking a
Mhm.
risk by going into that creative world. Like if you're doing it for the money or the fame, like girl, like
There's easier ways.
there are
There are
much
easier
easier
ways.
ways. You really have to love what you do.
Yeah.
Because this industry, this place, it's not fair. It's just
No.
not.
No.
And I love the idea of hoping, like creating that hope for yourself. And that means, yeah, like, in the last episode we had Chris Gautier, and like she was talking about, like making my own projects, like
Mhm.
doing she talked about creating, her own table, as cliche as that, may sound, but it really is
Yeah.
about what it's great getting, those big, industry names and, attachments to your project. But
Mhm.
yeah, there, and thank you for reminding us of that. And what do you think about Obsession?
Okay, so I loved it. I did, but I will say it's one of those movies, and I was talking to some other friends about it. Depends on where you fall on certain spectrums, but
Yeah.
they all really liked it too for the most part. But there were some people who were like, it was so uncomfortable, I could never watch it again. And
Mm.
others who were like, it was so uncomfortable, and that's why I liked it, but it also made me hate certain characters even more. I don't want to say too much and spoil it for people that haven't seen it, but it was one of those movies where what was going on was both uncomfortable and unsettling, and I
Yeah.
feel like there was so much to take away from it that is also very true of certain people in our culture and our world today. And I'm like, they should really be looking at this and internalizing the issue here so that
Yeah.
you don't go out and repeat things like this in real life.
Yeah, and without spoilers, right? Like thinking who's the bad person here, who's the villain. It's like
Exactly. Hmm.
let's think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so like going back to your career and the beautiful things that your work that your body of work, your body of writing, from Goosebumps to Gossip Girl 2.0. To Trinkets, it looks like mystery slash horror slash young adult is a preferred genre of yours. Would this be a correct assessment of your work, or am I completely off the mark? Or do you have any like you're like, gosh, is the jobs that I got?
It's a mix of all of that,
Okay, okay,
actually.
okay. Let's talk more.
So we say this all the time. We
Mm,
hate it when we get into meetings and people are like, we're genre agnostic. And they even hate saying it. They're like, we do a little bit of everything. But that's
mm,
truly how um I've always like operated and my writing partner and I operate. We watch so many things between movies and TV and so many different genres. We're like, we wanted to play in all of those worlds. And we think it's also a good way to keep our minds going and being creative in different ways. So you're not just stuck in one like box because before you know it, if you're only writing comedy, it's like, man, we've used the same one-liner like 5 times. Why can't we come up with something new? Because we haven't expanded our brains to look at other things and try other things.
mhm,
Um, and funny enough, all of the samples we have written, um, none of them are actually like YA samples,
mm.
but I say that to point out something that I've also wished that more people would focus less on, and that's the credits that writers have worked on. Because a lot of times your credits do not determine like who you are as a writer. What they show is that a showrunner for their shows read what you wrote and loved your writing so much and thought you could bring something to their show, some aspect, some element, and then that's why they hired you for the show. So we've worked with a lot of great bosses on a lot of fun shows. And some of them do have that YA thread connecting, but of course, as you mentioned, there's the horror and the comedy. But we're like, we want to do like an action show. We've got samples for that. We want to do something that is like hard sci-fi. We've got samples for that. And some things that are just a little more adult soapy or thriller. We've got samples for that. Um, but we truly wanted to play in all of the things, so we are open to everything, and it's just fun to like play around and explore. But again, it comes down to credits wise what the showrunners were picking you for.
Yeah. Is there something that you haven't like done and might, you know, like a genre that you haven't tried and you're like, I really want to try that or
Oh, what's a genre that we have not tried yet? Never written like an animated sample. And
Mm,
animation is something that I've always loved. Like I want to say that's probably my first inkling that maybe I wanted to do something in this business, be it writing, voice acting, whatever. At one point I thought about being an actual animator, because I did used to draw a lot and like that, but that was not my life. That life wasn't for me. But yeah, because I grew up watching like X-Men, the animated series, Batman, Superman, all of that, a lot of anime. So it would be fun to do like an animated show one day, either something like comedic, like BoJack Horseman, dark comedic, or something a little more action oriented, like Devil May Cry or My Adventures with Superman, that kind of thing.
yes. Is that like the voice work that you've done? Like, can you talk more about that? Voice
Oh,
work?
most of that has been audio drama, scripted podcasts, which has
Mm,
been a lot of fun because it's really just you at home with your mic.
mm,
Everything I've recorded so far has been remote at home, and it started during the pandemic actually because I was just like, here at home. What else can I do? Like, yes, we're working on writing, but we can't go out and hang out with people. And I kind of just went on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. I think it might have still been Twitter at the time. I can't keep track. And just kind of looked for voiceover auditions, and there was a lot of people that were doing like independent projects. So it was a great way to kind of dip a toe into the waters and kind of start to build from there. And I just had a lot of fun with it. So I was like, I want to keep doing this. So I've done a few more things since then, but it's mostly been like independent projects so far.
Yeah. And I love the, what you're talking about, sort of, almost like not being pigeonholed. And,
Mhm.
one of our other guests, Nancy Mejia, who was one of our mentors, talked about her frustration of her not being thought of for like an action movie,
Yeah.
because and like she being only called for like, like a quinceañera,
Hmm.
because of, does that happen to you, like, like, I mean, I'm kind of asking you in like a pigeonholing question, but
No, no, no. That
yeah.
has happened before. Because, like I said, I think more executives need to pay less attention to the credits on the page in terms of like what that show might say for the type of writer you are versus, oh, it shows that you've worked. Like I think that is valid, but we've got a lot of people that were just bringing us all of these YA projects, specifically high school, because YA is, has started to like get bigger in terms of what it spans because that could just be coming of age, it could be high school, it could be something like Yellow Jackets, which people don't consider to be YA because it is more like premium on Showtime, but it's got a huge teen story. It is
Yeah.
essentially that. But we would get a lot of YA projects that were like the high school romance, girl meets guy kind of thing. And after a while, it was like, we are not against those. We would still do them if it's the right project that resonates with us, but it was getting to be a lot of like, man, we're getting the same, what felt like the same story with different shades in terms of characters, like very lightly. But we were like, we can't do this. Or of course, you would get the projects where it was like, hey, this is a story about a person of color, and we're like, yes, but specifically, what about us was saying that we were the ones that could write this
Mhm.
story? And we're like, one of them that we got. I will not say the name of it, but all I will say is that it involved a black girl who got kicked out of a boarding school abroad and was moved to inner city in New York and started teaching people how to ride horses because she was an equestrian. And we got the submission. They're like, we feel like you and your writing partner would be perfect for this. And we go, why did they think that? No offense, just truly, why did they think that? Because neither one of us has lived in the UK. Neither one of us has gone to a boarding school. Neither one of us grew up in inner city New York.
Yeah.
Um, and neither of us ride horses ever. I've never been on one period. My riding partner has been on one all of one time for like one of those beach rides where they carry you along.
Yeah.
So we were like, so is it just because black? Is that is that it? Like, so we were like, no, this one is not for us.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing happens
Yeah.
all of the time, and it's happened to a lot of my friends too.
There, and I don't like, what's the balance, because like, I think one of the reasons why we started Disruptors was because we, like, I would see a storyline about the undocumented experience and somebody who was undocumented. I'm like, we should be the ones writing that's that story,
Yeah.
because that is my experience. Or like, there's a gay Latino, like that I should,
Hmm.
but that is something, what you and Nancy made me think about is like, saying I am not the right person for this.
Yeah.
It takes like sort of like, I don't know, I don't want to call it like checking your ego, but also like being aware of what you can and you cannot do.
Yes.
So,
It does, but also it's like sometimes you will get some of those stories, like you were saying, it's a story about the immigrant experience or being a Latino, and you want to tell that, but maybe that specific version of the story is not the one for you. Or
mm,
maybe there is one that is for you. Or you can also sit there and be like, I like this, but I've already done a version of this and I
mhm,
want to do something else next. And I also want people to be aware that while I do want to tell those stories, maybe I also just want to write about a magical fairy who just got off the boat at New York City and realizes they're in a whole new world now. Like, you should be able to do that as well. And I think more people need to be aware that we all contain multitudes and the kind of things that we want to write, as well as the things we want to promote and see.
Yeah, she was the fairy. She was the
Mm.
fairy. Courtney, we are coming to our end of this conversation. We can keep talking, but I know you're a busy person. So, is there
You're a
something
busy person.
is there something that you're currently working on that you can share with our audience, perhaps?
I'm always working on something. Nothing I can share right now, but a couple
Mhm.
of things that I would say that I am very excited about. We're going out with a feature right now, and it's the first one we're taking out wide. Trying to get a director on board, and it is a horror film that is set in the world of disco in the 70s. That's all I will say about that.
Hey.
And we're very excited for that. And there's a couple shows that my writing partner and I have pitches for that we are planning to take out soon. And hopefully one of those things will land or one of these movies will get picked up and I can come back and tell you all about it then.
So excited. We'll definitely we want to have you back. And yeah, I love it. Having you constantly have to be, having your you just said your hands in different
Hands in all
baskets.
the different pots. Like you gotta, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Look, I'm doing a comic strip and then I'm working on illustration. Like at work,
Hmm.
the creative, when you want to tell a story, it will come out
Yes.
no matter what. So
Mhm.
don't be your first creative blog. I
Yeah.
remember one of my
There's other people
mentors.
that do that. Just get it on your
Yes.
own.
I remember one of my earlier mentors. My background is in journalism, and Gustavo Arellano, writer, he was one of my mentors, and I was like, sometimes I have like mentor, what is a writer's block? And he was like, you can't afford to have like just write it, just get it
Yeah.
out.
Uh-huh.
And that has always stayed with me. So no mentor's block. Goodbye.
Yes, because it
Um,
can be bad. Whatever you write the first one could be bad, but then you have something to work off of and refine and make better. But until
yeah,
you do that, you have nothing.
yeah. And that's why I tell the fellows, I'm like, this fellowship is an opportunity for you to like fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
like it's okay. This is treat it
This
like
is
the real
learning.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, treat it like the real thing, but learn. Yeah, learn. You have amazing people like Courtney and, all of her mentors. So, thank you so much, Courtney. Reminder as we're closing, if you apply for the Disruptors Fellowship, we will send updates mid-July. If you email me about updates, I may respond or may not because we are in the middle of, going through the applications. If you RSVP'd for one of our workshops, reminder that the next one is happening July 8th, which is a comedy writing, TV writing with Shantira Jackson. So we hope you come and join us. Courtney, any final words as we're closing today? Any final words of advice?
Any final words of advice? Keep writing, stay vigilant, be nice, because no one wants to work with an asshole. No asshole policies all around this business. So just be a good person.
Be nice, be a good
I know
person.
that seems so simple, but for some people that seems to be really hard.
And on that note, if you've made it to the end of this video, we want to thank you so much. If you have any questions or any information, again, I will try to get to you if you email me about, disruptors or just overall any programs that we have at the Center for Cultural Power. You can email me, julio@culturalpower.org. Please share this video with everyone and subscribe to our Center for Cultural Power YouTube page at The Culture Strike to see this and other videos from our organization. Thank you so much. Happy Pride. Goodbye.